Dr. Kandula with Advent, your host of Adventing. I'm here with Dr. Ethan Handler. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
All right. So what's new?
What is new? You know, I was in Appleton yesterday, actually.
You listening to the radio on the way?
I was listening to the radio on the way.
You heard,
Yes.
heard our ads?
I have heard the new ads, yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about them? They're hitting home, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So I guess, conceptually, new ads, we just rolled them out not that long ago. Specific focus on giving the action to the person who's annoyed by their bed partner.
Mm-hmm.
Like basically you can do something about the person in your house who's snoring. The typical model is you do something to initiate action for that person,
mm-hmm.
versus now with sort of the model we've rolled out is if you have somebody in your house or somebody in your bed that's snoring, if you have a snorer, then there's something that you can do to take action, which is actually reach out to us and we'll actually set up an appointment with you, the non-snorer, to talk about the snorer to figure out how significant of an issue is this. Is a serious issue? Is it worth following up on? Should we go ahead and kind of help to set up an appointment, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that is that story. So it's really trying to give folks something tangible to be able to do with that frustration, because it's frustrating. I mean, as you see, and I see, people it takes a long time for a lot of folks to find their way into CS, because for snoring specifically, because they're asleep. They don't even know, they don't necessarily know they have a problem because they're asleep, and so they have to rely on others to kind of tell them about it.
And we see a lot of patients who are there because of their significant other has encouraged them to finally do something about it, or they're just forthright, like, I'm here because of because of my wife or my husband.
Sure.
So I need to be here.
Right.
So,
yeah. How's Appleton? So Appleton, we opened earlier this month, I guess.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was cool. I mean, it's nice to be in a new community. It's an easy drive up there, good people. So, I mean, it was a busy clinic, and in a lot of the visits I saw, obviously nasal congestion is a big part of this, but also sleep quality. And, I feel like we can really make a difference in people's lives, especially those that don't sleep well, know they don't sleep well, wake up in a fog, live their life that way. It's just like, it can be so empowering for them to kind of take back their restful sleep.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yep, no doubt. And that kind of dovetails to brain fog, which is this concept. I mean, I guess it's been around for a while, but sort of something that I think people talk about a little bit more. It's not a medical term, but like, what does brain fog mean to you?
I mean, to me, it means living where you feel like you're not totally present in what you're doing, right? And it's fatigue, it's a tiredness, it's feeling not sharp, like your mind's not there. Mm-hmm. In one patient yesterday, I mean, this is like the typical story is a patient who maybe slightly overweight, is being accused of being lazy or just doesn't really have much motivation to do anything, knows they have a problem, knows that they want to do stuff, but they just don't feel up to it, and they're tired, and they just don't quite have the mental sharpness that they want. And so, I mean, and there's a lot of people out there like that, and that is the perfect person that we can help if they take that first step and say, okay, let's try to do something, and it all starts with sleep and sleep quality.
Yeah, I mean, it could be other reasons for brain fog other than sleep, but sleep, I mean, pretty much you take somebody gets normal sleep and you take a night of sleep away from them, and I've been there before where you're just dragging, you're not yourself, you're not on your A game.
Well, and then imagine going to sleep every night knowing that what is supposed to be restful for you won't be, and so you dread going to sleep every night because it's not going to be good. Mm-hmm. And then repeating that like Groundhog Day.
Yep.
I mean, that just seems like torture to me.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the challenge is for those, I mean, like if you or I choose to miss a night's sleep, then you're going to pay the price for that. The folks that we're talking about don't have a choice. Like it is what happens when their body goes to sleep because the throat shuts down. They might snore because the throat's, sort of tightening up and shutting down. They might stop breathing, all that stuff. Like they're not in control. And so, the choice is being made for somebody. And so I guess flip that around, at least when we're seeing folks who are suffering from just fatigue, or they'll usually say, I'm just tired, or whatever they might say to kind of put words around that. They probably don't even know the half of it as far as how actually impactful whatever's going on is. partially because it's probably always been going on, and partially because they're asleep, and partially because they just don't know any better.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, and they're targeted by all sorts of different devices and ads and beds and whatever it might be, right? So, whereas none of those things really treat root cause, and I feel like, again, we can get people on the right path. It doesn't cure all ailments, but certainly regenerative sleep that is regenerative, that you get good rest. That's the best place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I know we've talked about it before, but the fundamentals there, what's the starting, to get out of the starting blocks from a sleep standpoint, you've got to be able to breathe. You've got to have an open airway. And so, again, to hammer this home is if somebody is snoring or somebody's pausing breathing at night, they don't have an open airway. That's not normal. That's not okay. That's not funny. That's not, it's a problem, but people don't recognize it as that simple. And it is relatively that simple. Like, it's not the only reason for somebody to have sleep issues. It is the only reason for somebody to snore or to have sleep apnea, obstructive sleep apnea, is if their airway is problematic, their nose is too tight or the throat is too tight, or both of those things are there. So that's a truth. And I think, fortunately or unfortunately, we have to say that repetitively because nobody else in the world is making that simple statement. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason for that. The reason that people don't make that simple statement is if you're selling coffee, if you're selling mattresses, if you're selling all sorts of things that rely and require the populace to be sleepy, you don't want to talk about root causes. You want to talk about Band-Aids. You want to talk about, the giant cup at Starbucks. You want to talk about this, that, and the other thing, because if you treat root causes, you don't need Band-Aids.
Oh, yeah. You think about industries like 5 Hour Energy or Monster or like any of these other things. It's all geared towards like trying to wake people up. And yeah, you're right. They thrive on people being exhausted.
Sure. And part of it, certainly some of that could be our own doing as a society, and just globally and in this country where people, I think previously discounted the impact of sleep. And if it was the choice between, 7 or 8 hours of sleep or, watching a movie or doing some work or whatever, or, then the choice was easy. Like, oh, you can always like catch up on sleep, but I can only catch this thing right now, kind of thing. I think things are shifted. It's not like 100% shifted, but I think people recognize the importance of sleep more so than they did even not that long ago, kind of a thing. So I think it's important, and yet there's still this disconnect. There's a reason that there's a Starbucks on every corner, and it's not because of, I guess I'd say the reason there is we tend to be walking around tired as a population, and part of that's some of the choices we make. Part of that's the fact that we're just not breathing the way we were meant to breathe, and therefore we are sleeping not the way we're supposed to sleep. And so we're just kind of dragging. So it's nothing good about that. And it's just a matter of understanding those dynamics. And I think that's where, at least when you look at it kind of holistically, you come back to that starting block and you say, what we've just said is if you can't breathe properly, you cannot sleep properly, and nothing else really matters beyond that. Mm-hmm. It's all like, once you spill that, once it's done, like once it's out, you can't unwind it unless we identify that issue and fix that issue. And then, on the flip side, I'd say, well, okay, we fix your airway, and it's not like the world is, full of unicorns and rainbows and, all that stuff. But
wouldn't that be nice?
But I have seen folks who kind of have seen the unicorns and rainbows.
Well, the fog's been lifted, right? That's a reality.
It is, and it's a big deal. Like if somebody's always been in the dark and always been in that fog, and all of a sudden you get them breathing properly and they start sleeping properly, and they wake up a different person. They wake up, it's not like magically one night, but it's usually, catching up on some of that missed sleep and that restoration. A lot of times the first thing we'll hear from somebody is, I'm dreaming for the first time that I can ever remember, and that there is a very, very,
and there might be unicorns in there,
right? No, and that's if you take it very literally, you take somebody's dreams away, you take somebody's vitality away. That's not good. Mm-hmm. Now, if you can bring that back, then you could dream about whatever you want. But I'd say, and unicorns and rainbows, and I think in order to have a full life, sleep is a prominent component of that. If you want to have a diminished life, diminish your sleep. If you want to have a full life, have, robust sleep. And, we can, when we find problems, fix those problems to restore that airway, to get somebody back to someplace they may never have been. And so if you've never been, just imagine a world where you've never had a dream, or you don't remember your dreams, and all of a sudden it's like, Technicolor, boom. That'd be pretty, I imagine kind of almost a world where somebody's colorblind. I've seen these videos where they're colorblind, they put the glasses on, all of a sudden they see in color, and it's just like, I've seen people in tears because of that. And I'd say this isn't really any different than that concept. It's taking a world that's blunted and diminished and fogged out, and you lift the fog, you restore what it's supposed to be, and it's a big deal. It's a big deal. We usually don't talk about it like this. We usually are like, it tends to be more focused on what's in front of us, which is what we need to be doing. But we hear the domino effect of what we do in a positive way every day we're in clinic. Those are the stories we tend to hear.
Because everybody's life, everything that somebody wants to accomplish when they're awake in their life hinges on their ability to sleep to be able to accomplish those goals. So whether it's work, whether it's family, whether it's running a marathon, who knows? But like everything that we do, like you have to have good sleep. And those people that don't, they try to nap and get through it, like you can't catch up because the quality of your sleep, whether you're napping or whether you're taking a 10-hour, overnight sleep, whatever it is, like it just is sucky quality.
Sure.
So like you can't catch up. So you're always behind, So you have to treat, root cause, because these Band-Aids just aren't going to help and aren't going to fix things.
Yeah.
So.
No. And you, I guess, I know we've talked about a little bit, I think your shout, I don't want to steal your shout out, but what's your shout out today?
Oh, so my shout out is I'm reading a book right now. It's called Can't Hurt Me. It's by this guy, David Goggins. And so, he's well known to some and not others, but it was suggested from one of the PAs, in clinic. And, the basic message of this book is, no one's coming to rescue you in life. And this guy had just the most horrific upbringing and could blame a gazillion people if he wanted to, but he doesn't. But he'll own it. He'll own his upbringing, and it's about seizing things for yourself, doing things yourself. You being the change in your life, and you talk about that a lot. But like this is to the umpteenth degree, and it's inspirational as hell and a solid book. So, and this guy has no excuses. And mental toughness, failure is an essential part to him getting better, and he owns all of it.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So, cool. In relation to us and sleeping, it's like, you want to do something, about your lives, take back control of your sleep. Take that step. No one's going to come do it for you. So,
right.
You have to do it. You have to be motivated and realize it's a problem, own it, and do something about it.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's sort of disconnected, but I remember just talking about him and his story. It's, it is. It's controlling, what you can control. I would say part of that too is the reality of what's in the past is in the past. And so like, what can you do today? Like, if somebody's been dealing with these issues for 5, 10, 20, 30 years, that's too bad. And you can't get those back. And so, but like you can do something today that will make tomorrow a different tomorrow kind of a thing, which is it's the same concept. It sounds disconnected, but it's exactly the same thing. It's really ownership and getting kind of to the root of what's going on and then persevering kind of thing.
Yeah, and taking, it's personal responsibility, and I think that it's tough, at times, and people want to find other reasons why things might be happening to them. And if it's sleep apnea and it's weight and these kinds of things, like I get it, and I never tell a patient, hey, go lose 50 pounds, because that's not realistic. It's a matter of, let's get you on the right pathway. You can decide to do these things to get your sleep quality where you need to be. So if you're motivated to lose weight, awesome. Yeah. We've helped you get to that point, and then go out there and lose your 50 pounds or 60 pounds, and not you have your oral appliance or your CPAP machine because you don't need it anymore.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's a cool message. It's a great book for anybody to read at any point in their life, whether you feel like you're wildly successful or not. I think it has messages for everybody.
So. Gotcha. And speaking of restoration, your favorite sport, baseball. They finally, I guess it's been
60 games. Is that it?
I don't know. It's interesting. That whole negotiation dynamic has been dispiriting. It's just it's typical of baseball. But anyway,
I haven't followed it as closely, but yeah,
I try not to follow it too closely because I'm in no control of it. But it's just this back and forth of animosity, which is going to brew over. Apparently, I guess the contract is up next year. So I don't. 2021 for Major League Baseball sounds fraught with danger, but 2020, yeah, I think it's like 60 games. DH in the National League. They've got this weird extra innings rule where they like put a runner on second. It's I guess to me the most interesting things about COVID as they relate to sports are these kind of rule changes around the periphery of each sport. So like and also their how they deal with the lack of crowds, like the lack of an audience. Mm-hmm. And so I was watching a soccer game this weekend where they piped in I think it was the FIFA EA Sports noise, and it was actually like it just reminds me how sort of simple-minded we are. Because yes, if you watched a soccer game in silence, it's really bizarre. But if you watch the same soccer game with the piped-in background noise, it's fine, and you see like the seats that are empty, but but you don't. I wasn't sitting there like I was sort of doing something else, but I'm still saying it was like it wasn't much of any different than when they're playing. But
right.
But I do think that like watching sports, part of it's that crowd. I mean, just hearing the roar of the crowd and all that stuff is kind of part and parcel.
How do you feel? What about for the athlete? And I wonder if this really will tease out what athletes are truly of that competitive spirit, doing everything they do for the grind of the sport versus those that do it for external purposes.
I think I mean we've talked about this before, but I think Michael Jordan would have killed it in silence. Kobe Bryant would have killed it. And I think that those elite athletes can do it in silence and with the cheer of the crowd or with the boos. Or all the above.
Yeah.
But it's still, I'm sure it's just got to take a little edge off of things when, like, once they get basketball up and running, if you're in an empty arena, like, that's got to be just weird. Because, other than practice, like, they've never played a game other than maybe when they're kids, but, like, from college to pros, it's just a different experience. So, so another, I guess it'll be it's a different brain fog analogy, but I would say it's similar that you're used to one situation that is what it is for your entire existence, and all of a sudden you're going to have to figure out what to do in a different situation, kind of thing. So it'll be interesting.
I will say that probably it'll help players appreciate fans and the normalcy of what they had prior, the following season. I'm sure they'll appreciate it in a different way that they never had.
Yeah, well, it'll be good to actually get back out to the ballpark. I don't know when that's going to happen. 2021, I think that's coming.
Likely.
So I think that's all we got.
Yeah.
So I guess thank you guys for watching. If you are liking this content, let us know. Follow us on whatever platform you're on, YouTube or wherever you're seeing us would be helpful. And we will see you next time. Take care.
Have a good one.